Welcome to Far From Eden. I'm so excited about today's video. I am constantly saying in comments, I think I've mentioned it on the channel, and I've said to men, over the phone or in person. One of the reasons women treat you the way they treat you, which is unacceptable, and it's because they do it because they don't see you as human. I know it's like, wait, that sounds so extreme. I know, hold on a second. They see you as if you can't love. They really think that. Like they think that what you want is hanky-panky all the time. That's all you're after. That's all you want. They don't understand that there are men out there, and a lot of them, who want a family, who really want a real family. They're not looking for, to be the James Bond and have all these women after woman after woman. A lot of them really just want one. So many. And so many men just want simple things in life, the things that are important, right? But women have this notion, and a lot of it's because of the brainwashing and propaganda we're fed. In each generation, the propaganda is just worse. They don't want us to know who you are. They want us to think that you just want hanky-panky all the time, and that's all you value women for. They want us to think that you're somehow predatorial, when it's so crazy, because history would show that you're actually protective of your family, of the people you love. That's what literal history shows. Are there bad people? Of course. But what they do is they take the bad people and they try to convince women that that's who men are. And it's not. That's who bad men are. But that's not the majority of men. So I know this, and I've learned so much about who you guys really are in the last, 8 years or so. 8 to 10 years, learning all of this stuff. That's been so rewarding, is to learn, about you guys, about who men really are. It's like, I understand that we're the same species, but we're not. Like, we are, I get it, but we're so different. And sometimes I think that it would help us if we really saw it that way, if we stopped with all this, well, we're all the same and we're equal, like we're the same, because all it does is teach little girls that anything you can do, I can do better. And then they grow up and go on the whatever podcast and talk about, women are just as strong as men. So anyway, getting back to the fact that women don't know men. Well, our friend from Norway, Bjorn Andreas Bull Hansen, right? I'm not clear on what to call him for short. Somebody asked me, do you even do research before you make a video? Yes, sometimes, but sometimes when I'm reacting to something that I've never seen before, I want to be absolutely react to it cold. I want to see what is the reaction that comes out of me, right? And for example, the video we're going to watch today is called What Men Want. It's not what women think it is. And no, I've not seen it. And I'm going to listen to it. This is twofold. I'm going to present it so that if any women are there, they can see it. And if they care enough to learn who men are, they can go, oh, wow. Maybe they'll open their eyes. But also, I want you to see how different we are based on my reaction to him. So let's present the screen, and then we will get underway. It's so weird. He reminds me so much of my dad. He looks like my dad, and I look like my dad. So I'm like, oh, okay. It's amazing. and he speaks like him, calmly, slowly. It's so peaceful. Just thinking about it, I'm already calming down. So, all right, Mr. Bjorn, let's go.
I have a question for you. And this question will be much harder to answer for the women watching. What do men want? I will give you the answer. But first, let's get the kettle on. I'll have some coffee. It's very early in the morning. Now, first of all, if you have an idea of what the answer is, then please write so in the comments. It's not sex. Well, we want that as well, obviously, but it's not. I mean, it's amazing that so many women get this one wrong, and because it's so simple. Men want peace. Yeah, we want peace. We don't want any conflict. We don't want to play games. We don't want, constant criticism or being tested, or we don't want any of that.
Okay. Now, every woman, most women are going to say, I don't want conflict either. I don't want to argue either. Women will act like, I want peace too. I value peace too. At the same time, they will absolutely create chaos and lean into things. What women don't understand, it seems to me, is that you don't have to argue. Arguing is a choice. I see this a lot in like married couples. Well, we fought all the time, so it was just better if we divorced. I'm like, stop fighting. Just stop. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to slam a door and you don't have to yell. Those are all choices. But the idea of, well, he made me feel this way. No, he didn't. Trust me, he doesn't want to make any of that happen. He's trying to not make any of that happen. You make that happen. You lean into the I'm talking to the women. Women lean into the chaos and the arguing and act as though the arguing fairy came down and they had to do it. No, you don't. You can shut your face. And they all act like they can't. And they will claim they want peace, but at the same time create chaos. And this is so true. And I know it's frustrating for you guys because you're trying to, have a relationship with a woman either now or sometime in the future, but they just don't seem to want peace. They say they want peace. They'll say they don't want to argue. They'll say blah, 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 blah. But their actions are everything to the opposite because they don't realize their agency in it, which is astounding to me, considering that's all they want to pretend they have is like, oh, I am woman, hear me roar, and I can do everything and I can do this, that, and the other. And like, yeah, but you can't control your own feelings. Like, how can you, like, I can do all this and I can be a CEO and I can, cook the bacon or bring home the bacon and fry it up in the pan, but you can't stop arguing. You can't be peaceful in your home. It's something you have to do. It's something you have to create. And women of old used to bring that to the men. The world is chaotic. Men used to go out, even, before industrial revolution, that's different. Nature is chaotic. He's out there. He's trying to, grow the crops and tend to the animals. And I know, being sort of a farm girl to an extent, horses, but you know, the farm has to run, and when the pipes freeze, it's serious. You're dealing with some chaos, and yeah, when as a woman, even doing farm stuff, and you come into the house, you don't want to deal with that anymore. You want to come into the house and for it to be like, right? But there's no for men to be found. Now, this amazing gentleman has clearly found it. Look at this beautiful background he has. Look at his kettle. He says, we're going to have this conversation, but first, let's put the kettle on and make some coffee. And that reminds me so much, again, of my family in England, because they were more old-fashioned. You know, I'm Gen X, so they were the age to fight in World War II-ish, around there. And they understand chaos because, you know, they survived the bombing of London. And so when times are tricky, or even my dad, he had this like, okay, well, I'm going to put the kettle on, and you put the kettle on and it's heating up the water and you're going to have this conversation. But the idea is it's not rushed and it's not a panic. And you hear that in his voice. Okay, let's put the kettle on. Let's have a cuppa and we'll sort this out. And I love that so much. I'm so grateful that that was a gift given to me from my father's side of the family. And I love that this man is kind of giving it to the world with his videos. So I know I've barely let him speak, but there's so much here. Like, he is just a wealth. He is what the world, I believe, is absolutely starving for. You get back to the basics. You get to what is real and what is true.
We just want peace. And it really is that simple. Now, I have come out here, and I'm actually in the process. So it's a project I have. I'm mapping these shelters that you can find in the woods here, and I'm putting them into my GPS system. But you know, shelters like this. You know, why do you think that there are so many of these shelters? Well, it's practical, especially in winter. But this will be a place where men typically will come and just sit around the campfire, you know, and talk about everything and nothing.
And that's another thing. And I made a video about that. I've lost track of time, but I think it's the thumbnail says men are lonely. And it's about men having other male friends, a brotherhood. It's so important for you guys. There used to be a fairly recent history, is before television, kind of. I guess that's not recent history at all. But people would, in England, for example, would go to the pub and they would commune and talk about, you know, what's going on and what do we think, and et cetera, et cetera. And when I say people, the men would go and they would talk about issues and they would talk about their lives and they would talk about whatever they needed to talk about. I, as a woman, I don't even know, honestly, all the stuff that they would talk about, because I just know what women get together and talk about, and it's not the same. It's not the same, which is one reason I don't have a lot of female friends, because I don't care for it. Thank you. I'd rather sit in the corner and listen to the men speak because it's fascinating. But anyway, I would not interrupt because that would just mess it up. I just want to listen. I realized I want to do that because of listening to podcasts and stuff where there's a couple of really intelligent men and they're working out different issues. And I'm like, man, I could really go hide in a cigar lounge and like listen to what the men are saying, and it would just feed my brain. But anyway, so yeah, I wish there was a campfire, so to speak, literal or otherwise, where men could go and hash the things out that they need to hash out. I think they need that sort of brotherly love. And now that people barely have children, 0 children, 1 kid doesn't count. Honestly, when I first heard Kevin Samuels talk about 1 kid, like, don't even do that, at first, I feel so stupid now, but you live and you learn, right? But at first I was like, well, that's a little extreme. And the more I've thought about it, especially as I get, into these older years, it's like, oh boy, when your parents age, where are the siblings to take care of the parents? If there's 1 or there's 2 and they're living wherever, like, that's not a good plan. But I guess they're like, that's okay. Go to a nursing home. Go to It's like, we're supposed to be taking care of each other. But my point is, nobody has siblings. So where is the brothers? And where are the like male cousins? And you don't have that. And they don't want men getting together. Honestly, I feel like if men decided to, get together, say 5-10 men, they were just like, you know what? Let's all get together once in a while. I feel like the FBI would have would be following them. There would be a file. Because what are these men up to? Especially if they're a certain color. Be like, ooh, they don't want men talking. And the reason they don't want men talking, and when I say men, when I say they, I actually don't mean women. I say twofold. I need to change that. Both. They, meaning the overlords, whoever's pulling the strings and in charge of everything, the people whose names we don't know, they don't want men talking because men will talk and go, you know what? I think they're all on the same page. I think they're all against us. And they would realize, who the real enemy is rather than the other. I don't want to say too much because then they're going to come after me. But you guys know what I mean. And women don't want you guys getting together unless it's like a sanctioned play date, like football or golf, that they've decided, okay, this is what you're allowed to do with these people. And that's why I call it a play date, because it's very condescending to be like, I don't really like those friends. Like, who are you? His mother? No. He gets to go and have as many friends and do whatever he wants with them, but that is not the life that men live. They are not allowed to have these male friends, and they don't, because of that, it's like it's lost in the culture. And they don't even, I think there are younger men who don't even expect it. They don't even know it was ever a thing. And I bet that they miss it, but they can't know that that's what they're missing. So getting together around a campfire, these things that he is saying, that just sounds so simple. Why is it so difficult for all of us? And why has this gone away? Women, yes. But also those who would be threatened by men really being whole and feeling like they could stand up against injustice and being able to recognize that injustice is being wielded against them. And we definitely don't want them hanging out together, discussing things and figuring that out.
And they will be in peace, if the water is boiling. I think that as a man, this is something that you realize as you get older. And not all young men understand this aspect of themselves. I would say that, when you're young, you run around like an idiot and and all that, and you chase women and all that. And I guess that's natural. And how
it is natural, but is it good? I know that after the first video I made with this lovely gentleman because I didn't know anything about him. You guys were like, he's not a Christian. He's, he believes in like Norse stuff, pagan stuff, however you want to word it, but he's not a Christian. That's fine. It doesn't mean that he's not saying truth. And what I would say, because I am one, is no, running around chasing women isn't good and it doesn't make you happy. And that's a reason why God said don't do it. It's not good for you. He didn't make rules to make your life horrible. He made rules so you could protect yourself from, as much unnecessary pain and struggle and hardship as possible. Now, I get it. You're like, well, I don't think Chad and Tyrone are hurting. They've got all these women. Yeah, it's very shallow. It's very shallow. And of course, there are some people that are fine with that because they are shallow, but it's not going to satisfy you when you have any kind of moral code or are seeking any kind of real purpose. It's going to feel empty. And you're going to feel like something is missing. And I think that there's a lot of men that feel that. And maybe they feel like maybe they're lost because they can't figure out women and there are no good women, but also because they think that they need to go and chase these 304s or whatever and attain one. That's not your that doesn't make you valuable. Men actually do inherently have value. They're not treated as such in society, but they do inherently have value. Because they are able to, live and sustain themselves completely alone in nature. And women, by and large, would be too weak to survive in nature. Industrialization changed all that and hides the truth. But when it comes down to who needs who, women need men. Men can, focus on themselves, find their peace, work on their purpose, and they're all improving themselves, etc. And think about, hey, I have this peace. I am not going to do anything to disrupt it. So I'm going to be very, very, very picky about whatever woman I even talk to, rather than the shotgun approach, which will not protect your peace. Because that is really rolling the dice on who you're going to get. And you're worth more than that. You really are. You really are. I mean, you were created by God. You were. And it's his word, his rules are written on your heart. His rules, it's written on his heart too, even if he doesn't know it.
It's supposed to be. But that's not how you're supposed to live your entire life, right? And we seem to live in a kind of society now that is hypersexualized. And ironically, especially young people, as I mentioned in another video, they are having much less sex than before. Finding peace as a man, it's so valuable. And finding a woman who understands that about her man is, I think, important and necessary. Because
that's an excellent, excellent point. When you're weeding out the bad ones, a great question is, what do you think it means to have peace in your life? It's a great question. And if you're like, no woman's going to answer that question, a woman who understands peace will. And so if they don't, they're not for you. Be ready to weed them out. And you might weed out all of them, but that's better than the wrong one. Your peace is worth more than that.
Because, there are lots of women out there who will they're kind of ready for conflict when they get home from work and so on, and there's an immediate conflict there, and that's a horrible thing, because, and this goes for women as well, I guess, but especially for men, when we are out in the world, we are constantly criticized, constantly. It's never ending. And when you get home, you don't need that. You don't want that. It's
Right.
supposed to be a safe haven for both,
I feel so happy that I actually kind of said that a little earlier. It just means that I am doing my job and understanding you guys and understanding what's important to you and what peace means to you. Because it doesn't matter what peace means to me. That's a big reason I was so excited to watch this video. And he's right. He's absolutely right. And the problem, I will say again, a big problem is that women don't realize that they are creating conflict, that they are criticizing. They literally don't see it as criticism a lot of the time when they're doing it. For example, off the top of my head, when are you going to fix the garage door? Let's just pick something, right? He knows the garage door has a deal, right? He knows. He doesn't need you to remind him. When you remind him, you are criticizing him. And another thing that I've learned, okay, if there are any women listening, when your man says something and you disagree with him, just matter of opinion on something, in your all's life or what have you, that's arguable. When I wish I need to come up with an example off the top of my head. If he says, I don't think that, it doesn't even matter the exact example, but you don't have to say you're wrong. Like, you don't have to say something that basically is telling him he's wrong. I know for women, we're like, but why? That's not arguing. Well, really, what is arguing? You're trying to convince him you're right about something. Isn't that arguing? But it's funny. And I actually learned this watching Kevin Samuels, because the women would argue and Kevin would be like, you don't need to argue. And they would be like, I'm not arguing. And I was like, oh my gosh, we don't even know what that means, what that word means to you. And we don't even know how disagreement affects you. And a lot of women would be like, oh, well, if his ego is, look, is your ego so whatever that you can't shut your mouth? You don't have to go around policing the man all the time, telling him, oh, you need to do this, or when are you going to do that? Or I've been with the kids all day. I blah, blah, blah all day, blah, blah, blah. When you complain as a woman, oh, this is another thing I just thought of. When you complain as a woman, that disrupts his peace too. It's not necessary to complain. And a lot of women are going to be like, what? I should be able to say my feelings. Why? Why do you think you have the right to just constantly say your feelings all the time and everybody else is just supposed to bow down and listen and accept it? Maybe you're being obnoxious. Maybe your complaining is actually rude to someone else. Women don't think about what they say, how that affects other people, but they're constantly like, hey, that made me feel like this, which is strange, but it is very childlike, isn't it? Yes.
So that's why I'm saying that, especially now in today's society, what men want first and foremost is peace. Most men would rather live alone and have peace than live in a relationship without peace. Here comes the sun, and yeah, that's wonderful. Life is beautiful. The world is a beautiful place, and I think I speak for most men when I say this, and when I say that we as men, we don't like noise, we don't like conflict and drama and all that mess. We don't like that. We want peace. And when you think about it, it's it's not really a big mystery why it is like that, because as men you go out into the world, and this goes back into the dawn of humanity, when men, they went out to hunt, for instance, and that was dangerous. So outside there, danger. So at home, around the campfire, they needed, and we still need, peace.
I love what he just said right there. He said, and he was talking about, days gone by, but outside was danger. Inside the house was much safer. Guess where the women were? Yeah, they probably had a garden, they probably had some chickens, but you can run right in the house, right? If there's a grizzly, you're less likely to, come across a den of snakes because your husband has cleared the area, right? So, do you think back then, not you guys, women, when the men went outside the home to hunt and fish and tend the crops, that was a lot more dangerous and a lot harder physical work than being in the home. So who's been oppressed for centuries? Is it the one that was safe and protected? Or is it the one who was forced? Because if it was women, that's what we'd say. It was forced to go out there in the dangerous place, and there were grizzlies, and there were, gosh, like in Texas, I mean, now they have wild hogs, like I am a woman. I can't even tell you what the dangers were. That's how bad it was. Like there were other people out there who might not be hospitable. Things women take for granted. Men still go out into the world and do the hard stuff. They still do. They maintain the electric grid. They maintain the sewer system. They do the trash pickup. It's a big deal. If you don't think trash pickup is a big deal, talk to some New Yorkers when there's a strike or something. It's a crisis. So women have absolutely taken that for granted, still do, because not that much has changed when you think about who really goes out to the danger and does the things that make everything run, right? It's almost like our society now is expanded that idea because not every job that men do is dangerous, but the dangerous jobs are done by men. Just like it was before the Industrial Revolution and a little bit afterwards, which here in the States came quite a bit later. But the men went out into the danger. The women were safe and protected. And the thing is that the women appreciated that back then. They knew, hey, him going out there into the danger and all that, that means we're going to have food on the table. And without him doing that, we wouldn't have food on the table. And so they appreciated him. And they appreciated him going out and doing that. And so they provided peace. When he got home, they knew. Even not that long ago, it would be like, when daddy comes home, it was a big deal. The kids should be put together. I mean, to an extent, they are children, but they're not wild animals, for the love of God. We can raise these children better and make it so they have manners. They don't scream in the house. They don't yell they don't run in the house. There should be no such thing as indoor voices, because you should just be civilized and have a nice speaking voice. This yelling everything has got to go. This is disturbing men's peace. So when they get home and the kids are screaming and she's yelling and everything's chaotic and things are messy, that's not okay. And women are like, it shouldn't be my job. Really? Well, what is your job? What is it? Just to make you happy? Okay, then don't complain when there are no men, because men want peace. And if you're going to disrupt it, then you shouldn't have a man. It's as easy as that. And it's not a hardship. And I'll tell you another thing. If you are conscientious about bringing peace to your man and not disturbing his peace, you get peace too. Because that discipline that you use to go, I'm not going to talk about that right now. He just got home. And then you realize you don't have to talk about it at all. You just go, you know what? Let's just say, I'm so glad you're home. And you teach the children that too. Then the kids learn to appreciate daddy and respect daddy, as they should. But they get their cues from you. If you talk to him in a nasty way, or you're always complaining, or you're nagging him, is it any wonder the kids grow up not respecting their father? You know what that does? That almost creates a single mother household scenario as far as how those kids are going to turn out. Doesn't work well. It's amazing to me. This man who's not Christian is just like spewing truth, Like it might be more than he even realizes. Anyway, I just love him so much. He is a treasure.
Safety. And we don't want noise, we don't want drama. And I think that's why so many men are turning their back on modern society. I mean, it's a big thing, and it's not really being talked about much, but it's been going on for a long time, and I see it all the time. Men are turning their backs on modern society. They don't want what it has to offer, because what it has to offer is noise, drama,
Right.
And all those things that we don't want.
Right.
We just want peace. And we want the world to leave us in peace. And I think, if we are being honest as men, we would like to have that peace in the company of a good woman, of course. But if we can't have that, we would rather be alone and in peace.
And that is exactly, if anybody ever asks my advice, which there's no reason to, but that's exactly what I would tell men. Protect your peace. It is much better to sit there and weed women out and never find one than to just take one. You men are the ones that shouldn't settle. And what I mean is, don't settle for something that's going to disrupt your peace. It won't be worth it. It won't be. And a lot of you guys who watch this channel, you know that. There's so many commenters that are like, hey, Because we got on one side, we got the ones that can't find like a woman, right? And we've got the ones that found one and then she ripped their heart out and divorced them like when they're 60. There are literally several men that have commented on this channel that were around 60 when their wives just left. So and I'm not sure that they're the ones that said, hey, I had it and what was it good for? Because they had it, but it wasn't real. They didn't have peace. What was it for? It was some kind of fake, they never had love. They never had respect. Nobody ever appreciated, and they can just leave. So even if they pretended like they appreciated you for a time and they leave, it's like, well, what was that? The moment you get sick or you're disabled, they're gone. It's better to say, no, these are the criteria I am going to have, and I am ready to weed out all the women. Because what he is saying is true. And I'm just saying that because of the things that you guys have told me.
Now, this does not mean that we shy away from conflict. It just means that we don't want conflict and noise to be a big part of our lives. And I know that men are often criticized for not opening up, not talking, not sharing their feelings and so on. But especially the women out there, I mean, you need to understand that it's not really about that. It's about the fact that we are trying to protect our peace, and talking about everything very often leads to conflict.
Whoa. Okay, hold on. That is so interesting. Talking about everything often leads to conflict. I've never heard anyone say that before. But man, that's got to be true, right? Because when you're just digging everything up, you're going to find something, right? When you're talking about everything. Yeah. And women do that, don't we? It's like, what? But I don't even know why we do that. I think this whole idea of venting, I know when I was younger, it was something that my mom did as if this was I just need to vent. I just need to get it out and then I'll feel better. But it didn't seem like it worked. It just made everybody else anxious. So I don't know that. I think what he's saying is absolutely true. And I tend to think that agreeing with him might be wise considering everything else he's saying. Talking about everything often leads to conflict. Well, I'm really going to be thinking about that one later. I think he's right. Wow, that is a great lesson that so many women would benefit from. Because we are not doing well. We are not out there living our best lives. We'd like everyone to think that, but that's not the case. And so it's probable, that we're wrong about a lot of the ways we do things. And one of the things that we think as women is that talking makes it better, talking it out. Wow, you guys, that was big.
Looks like this shelter, we call them Goa Hook in here in Norway. Looks like it's been here for a while. It's still standing. I'm going to get myself some blueberries because it's that time of the year, and continue my hike. And I will be in peace. I will be happy. Yeah. I think that's what it's all about, you know. A simple, happy life. Now, some of you asked me what I was removing from these trees in one of my other videos, and it's the answer is very simple. It's I think it's called pitch or sap from spruce trees, and I keep it in this little tin, and it's for fire starting. So that's your answer. And I then keep it in my belt like this so that I can start a fire. Thank you for watching, if you're still watching. And if you want to help this channel, subscribe and leave a comment. That would be awesome. I'm interested in hearing other people's opinions about these topics. And yeah, hope to see you in the next video, which will be out in a few days, here from my local woods. Okay, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
What a wonderful man. Just what a breath of fresh air. Just out there in his local woods. Is that what he called it? I'm calmer. Like I try to bring energy to the videos on purpose because it's better. It makes a better video, and I'm passionate about the topics. But then he has the effect on me that, a man like that should have on a woman. He's calm, he's measured, he's wise. Sorry. He speaks slowly. It calms my whole self. Now, it could be that he does remind me of my dad, and my dad did that also. Sorry, it's a little funky. I'm not sick. It's just the heat outside affects me, and sometimes the weirdest thing is that my voice can be an MS situation. If you've ever seen that guy on Fox News, Neil Cavuto, he has MS. His voice does funny things. Yeah. Anyway, that's all it is. But I don't want you to worry about me because today's actually a much better day. Weird. But anyway, he is so calming and it works really well. You should try it around women. Just be calm. Just don't. And my dad did that. And when my mom would get chaotic, I watched him learn. He's always a very calm man, always a very gentle man. But yeah, there were times earlier on where he would yell back, etc. Those were not good times, but But then later, he would just remain calm and thoughtful the whole time. And that can sometimes have an effect on women where they get angry because you're not angry. Isn't that insane? Like they're angry because you're not as upset as they are. Ignore that. Just keep remaining calm. Just keep staying in peace for a couple reasons. Number one, you stay in peace. You protect it because it is so important. Protect it, above everything. Nothing is worth losing your peace over like that. There's plenty of things in life that are going to steal your peace. Life is chaotic and brutal, and there's all kinds of suffering. Even in our world where we have eliminated a lot of suffering, it's still pretty brutal. People get sick. People, things happen. it's kind of can be a rude awakening for young people sometimes when they realize, oh, bad things do happen to good people. And so learning to protect your peace through all of that is super important. But you have to remember to protect it for when you come home, because you have to have that place that you can go to inside of yourself when you're out in the world, so you don't get up to that chaotic level. And then when you're home, you definitely don't need to bring anybody into that home, have a wife or whatever that's going to disturb all of that. Because there's plenty of it's enough to have children, you know. Children are a little chaotic unto themselves, even when you raise them properly and teach them not to scream and yell and run, and they have manners. They're still gonna mess up and be difficult, and sometimes they get sick too. So we don't need to add to this. And what I wish women could realize is that we can control it. We really are strong enough to control it. You're strong and independent, but you're not in charge of your feelings, which is a big reason that I like to show the cop cam videos. Because I'm like, look at this. It's out on full display. But I love what he is saying, and I love what he is teaching. And I hope that there are men that don't understand this perspective. Maybe they didn't have a father, they didn't have a father that taught them this. He is so valuable. This is what men need to, I think, look towards. And it's interesting to me because I'm told that he's married and has multiple children. So I think he found a good situation. He is older, so it was a better chance of finding a good woman back then. But, you know, she has to remain a good woman. And we know that those women can move anywhere on that chart that we talked about a couple videos ago. The crazy matrix, crazy hot matrix. Oh my goodness gracious. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for your support yesterday when I wasn't feeling too well. And I let you guys know. I always let you know because I know you worry. But it was just a rough day. The heat got to me. And but I'm back today, and I appreciate you guys being supportive. I think I got a lot of prayer warriors because I don't know how I feel this much better today. It's kind of strange. It's not normal. So I kind of feel like, wait a minute. I'm very blessed, and I hope that you guys are protecting your peace. I hope that you're feeding your soul, and I'm gonna see you guys on the next one. Take care. Bye.